Okay, so before I start this video, I just want to put out a full disclosure for myself. I am pro-vaccine, and there are many reasons why I am, but for this particular video, I may lose friends, and that's okay, but I am pro-vaccine, and I follow up on everything with the CDC as far as this goes. I'm sorry. 1 in 54 children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Now that can vary from Asperger's to just a developmental disorder. And there is no link between vaccines and autism. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Autism has nothing to do with vaccines. Vaccines have nothing to do with the diagnosis of autism or the cause of autism. But I have been lucky and blessed that my baby is 1 in 54. And here's my story. Sorry. I told myself I wasn't going to get emotional. Okay. So in 2008, I gave birth to the biggest crybaby. He cried and cried, and that was like music to my ears. He was 7 pounds. He was 20 inches long, and he was beautiful. He still is beautiful, but he was just beautiful. He reached milestones as expected. I took him to every doctor's visit. He received his vaccines on time, never early, never late. He crawled for a little bit, and then he started walking, and I thought for sure he was going to skip the whole crawling altogether because he was so strong in the legs, and he was just going to start walking, and he favored standing, more than he did crawling. And I thought, yes, at 1 year old, he still wasn't walking completely. And, as a mother, you don't ever expect something to be wrong with your child. You assume that they're late bloomers, which in most cases, boys are late bloomers. And so I didn't think anything of it. I kept going. He started talking, it was a little later than usual, but he started mama, baba, baba. He never liked the pacifier, although we have one picture of him with the pacifier in his mouth, and that's the only picture because he never really liked it. And at around 15 months, he started walking, and I was like, perfect, and I felt like it was him against the world. Like, I knew that he was just going to blossom from there. It wasn't until around 2 years old that I started noticing that he just wasn't speaking, the way I saw other 2-year-olds speaking. And I know you should never compare your child to another child, but as a mother, you just can't help it as far as reaching milestones go. So I brought it up to his pediatrician's attention, and his pediatrician told me, yes, he is not only not speaking the way he should be, but he is showing signs of being autistic. And at this point in time, I'm in denial. I am in shock. Here's my baby. He's perfect in my eyes. How could anything like this happen to him? What did I do wrong? That is all I kept asking myself is, what did I do wrong? So he referred him out to be seen by a psychologist, or a behavioral psychologist, I should say, a children's behavioral psychologist, Dr. Reed in Corpus Christi. And it took a year for us to get in. We were on the waiting list for a year. So this just goes to show you how many children are being diagnosed daily with a behavioral disorder, with a developmental disorder, with anything. And so we got in a year later, and I made sure not to miss the appointment. So I took him in, and the psychologist asks biological questions and things like that, and if there's any type of history in the family, and just a bunch of questions, and I answered them to the best of my ability. And then he spent some one-on-one time with Dominic in a room with a bunch of toys and gadgets, and I was able to be in another room in a I guess a double pane window, like one-sided window. You can see out, but they can't see in. And I watched everything happen. And he was great with Dominic. I have no complaints whatsoever. And within an hour, he pulled me back into his office, and he says that Dominic is autistic. He confirmed what I felt at that time was my worst nightmare. So he said that Dominic would never speak, that my best bet was to start looking for homes as Dominic got older, adult homes, so that Dominic could be well taken care of, because I was not going to be able to do it. And it crushed me. So he also recommended that I put Dominic on medication, and I said no, because I'm not going to pump my child full of pills just so that I can get something done and he can be calm. So again, I said no. And I put Dominic in the car, and I sat there and I cried. Like, I felt so defeated at that time. Here I was trying my best to, I wouldn't necessarily say be a good mom, because I know that I was a good mom. I know that I am a good mom, but just, I tried my best to do right by him, if that makes sense. I wanted him to meet those milestones. I wanted to, do all these things for him and with him, and everything changes when you hear autism. Your whole world changes. And so I'm sitting in my car and I'm crying, and then I just decide, you know what? I could sit here and I can mope about it, and I can be sad and defeated, or I can fight for him, and I can be his voice. And that's what I decided to do. I started hard therapy on him, and I know that it was tough for him, but I knew that he was going to come out of it better, each time. Started 2 times a day with speech therapy, 1 to 2 times a day, of occupational therapy, 2-3 times a week. It just, I started doing everything. I changed a little bit of things that I was doing as far as modifying things for him, but I wanted him to have the most normal life ever. I still do. And I didn't want to baby him. I didn't want to pity him. I didn't want pity for myself, because I'm not weak. you know, I I wanted everything to just stay the same, if that makes sense.